The night in Victoria Island carried a weight heavier than the usual VI humid air. Inside a discreet upscale restaurant, 3 figures sat at a table that seemed too small for the power it held. Gina, in her grey t-shirt and jeans, leaned back with quiet composure. James Okonjo, heir to a dynasty, sat across in his spotless white shirt, his voice calm, his gaze sharp. Beside them, Femi, popularly known on the streets as area chairman, area father, sat in kaftan and slippers, his laughter loud enough to make waiters flinch. Together they were money, media, and muscle, a fragile triangle bound by power and suspicion. Hi there. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. This is the story of Gina, Top 100 Vogue Women of Africa. Top 5 Women Personality of the Year. Norma Africa Award. Welcome story lovers. Where are you watching from? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. The meal was quiet, each word measured, each glance a calculation. And then, a chef appeared, nervous, his hands trembling as he set down a bouquet of black roses. Tucked into the flowers, a folded note. Gina reached for it slowly. The words, scrawled in bold black ink, cut through her calm like a blade. Your men can't save you. Before anyone could speak, the screech of tires pierced the night. A black SUV with tinted windscreen tore away from the restaurant, its engine roaring, like a challenge in Formula One racing track. Then came the gunshots. It was sharp and loud, merciless, and very close. Chaos and panic exploded inside the restaurant. Chairs toppled. Customers screamed. James gripped Gina's arm, panic flashing in his eyes. She stayed still, pale but composed, but Femi rose, unshaken. Stay here, he growled, moving toward the door. The doors burst open. Henry, one of Femi's lieutenants, stumbled inside, his face wet with sweat. Boss, 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 please help us, he yelled, with tears in his eyes, visibly shaken. They've taken Big Boy. They have kidnapped him, his voice cracked. In his hand, a small note. Femi snatched it. 2 words glared up at him, step aside. Femi frowned. His anger was visible to all. How dare they? He whispered, holding up the small note that had been passed to him. How dare they? This is my territory, my domain, and my kingdom, and nothing happens here without my authorization. I'm the area chairman. The restaurant froze. Everyone knew Big Boy, popularly called Six Pack across Victoria Island. He was the ladies' man, funny and witty. He was the fearless aide Femi respected. Always the women's favorite. Femi's right-hand man, gone, snatched in plain sight. That night, Femi drove with Gina to her echoey mansion. James followed behind, restless, unsettled. Femi stationed 4 of his men at her gate, guns tucked under shirts, eyes scanning the dark. Nobody touches you, he said flatly. Gina stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself, watching shadows move beneath the orange glow of the street lamps. The wait seemed endless. 4 days passed, still no word. No ransom, no voice, only silence. Femi wasn't the best at the waiting game. James pressed Gina to involve his military contacts. This isn't street level, Gina. This is war. Let me bring in my people. But Femi slammed his fist on the table, his face thunder. No. This is my territory, my battle. No police, no military. Wait. You'll see. I dare they take one of my men. They will feel my anger and my fury. I promise. I won't stop until their very last breath. And when I am done, they will regret every move and every plan. They will beg for forgiveness, and I, Femi, will not forgive even if they beg for mercy, because they brought this upon themselves. Femi paced like a caged lion, his slippers dragging against the polished tiles of Gina's mansion. Patience was never his virtue. He was a man of action, of quick strikes and faster decisions. The silence of waiting gnawed at him more than the gunfire ever could. Every tick of the clock felt like mockery. Every unanswered question about Big Boy's whereabouts, a blade to his pride. 4 years, the streets had obeyed his word without delay. Now, forced to sit still, forced to wait, it made his skin crawl. Femi's impatience was like a drumbeat in the room, loud, constant, impossible to ignore. While James leaned into strategy, speaking of military contacts and long-term plays, and Gina sat still, her calm silence slicing sharper than words, Femi could not bear the waiting. He slammed his fist against the table, his voice heavy with Lagos grit. Every second we waste, they move further. You don't understand on the streets, delays death. To Gina, his outbursts were both unsettling and oddly reassuring. This was a man who wouldn't abandon her, not when action was demanded. To James, however, Femi's recklessness was dangerous, like a blunt weapon in a war that demanded precision. Between them, the air thickened with unspoken questions, whose way would prevail. Gina's heart warred with itself. She had built her empire on grit and solitude, on trust in no one but herself. But for the first time, she felt the weight of fear. The thought of losing everything, not just her empire, but her own life, this made her chest tighten. Her mind drifted back, unbidden, to the local Ajegumi market. She remembered the crowded market, the hustle, its local market men and women, the lovely smell of the market, the dust, the puddles. She remembered the press of sweaty bodies, small-time hustlers. Her mother's voice cut through memory. Survival is louder than money, my daughter. Life is hard without both, but survival instincts will take you far in life. When you survive, you win, her mother reinforced, and reassured her, smiling. That was one of her first life hack lesson, from her mother. Her parents were poor, they had very little, but happy with the little life had given them. They worked hard to send her to school, and then the university. Because they wanted the best for her in life. They wanted a better life for Gina than they've had. Then came university. She remembered squatting in the female hostel, mocked as Gina the squatter, while another girl with her name Rich Gina paraded new provisions every weekend from her father's SUV. Cereals, peanut butter, bowls of jollof rice, friends swarmed her. While she, the poor Gina, hid her shame in silence. That was her second lesson. Survival without noise. Every challenge she's faced in life was a determination that pushed and strengthened her resolve and capacity for the next level. Now, those lessons wrapped themselves around her heart. She would not bend. But elsewhere in Lagos, the rival investor moved his pawns. Inside a smoky clubhouse, Anita, Mariam, and Tanya the disgraced staff sat trembling before him. He reclined in white agbada, his gold watch glinting, his glass of whiskey raised in mocking toast. Sometimes, he said, lips curling, money doesn't talk, sometimes, it destroys. On the streets, shadows thickened, men loitered near Gina's gate at night, restless, dangerous, their eyes fixed on the mansion. And then, one evening, her gate man found it, a small USB stick left at the entrance. He brought it to Gina, his hands shaking. She plugged it into her laptop. Her face froze. The CCTV footage played. The same black SUV, parked outside her mansion. This time closer, watching, waiting. The screen went dark. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then came the knock. It was the housekeeper, trembling as he carried a small velvet box. His hands shook. He offered it to Gina. She frowned, opening it slowly. Inside lay a single bullet, gleaming, cold. No note this time. James' face drained of color. Femi only smiled a cruel, but a dangerous smile. Good. At least now they're speaking my language. But the night wasn't finished. Hours later, the CCTV alert beeped. Gina, James, and Femi crowded around the laptop. The footage flickered, then sharpened. Big Boy stood before one of Gina's CCTV cameras, in the rear of her mansion. He's alive, they all shouted chorously. Thank God. But Big Boy was chained. His face was swollen, blood trickling down his temple. His once proud shoulders sagged under the weight of defeat. He looked directly into the camera, lips trembling, before whispering the words that froze the room. "Boss, step aside, or they'll kill me." The screen went black. This story continues in Gina, Part 4. Please watch out. Thanks again for watching. Like, share and subscribe to support our YouTube channel Beyond African Borders.